What is going on, Commonwealth? And welcome back to another great episode of the Bluegrass Soccercast, your home for all things soccer, right here in the beautiful Commonwealth of Kentucky. I'm, of course, your host, Mr. Jimmy. That's Mr. John. John, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm good, man. I was kind of sick this past weekend, so I'm glad to be feeling better and ready to talk some soccer, sir.
Me too.
All right, John. We don't have any guests this week, so it's just me and John. So this should be a really good, long spirited conversation because we have a lot to talk about. But, John, let's go on and start with the big news that dropped last week with the USL's new major TV broadcasting deal, including ESPN and CBS Sports Network. Now, John, we did drop an article about it, so if you want to read my direct thoughts on it, please head over to our website, which is bgsc.show, to read the full article. But, John, I want to start with what are your thoughts on the new deal?
The new deal is good. We finally get a full explanation on where games will be. We did not have that with the December CBS release because, and some of you may do this, some of you may not. Please stop just reading their headlines.
Oh, please
I
stop reading
know
headlines.
I don't know how many people I saw when they announced this ESPN deal. They're like, "What happened with CBS? I thought they were with CBS. I thought they were going to be on Paramount Plus." The CBS press release legit said only 100 games.
Yep.
It never ever said all the games. At the very bottom, it said other broadcast information would be released later, and this is what we got.
And that was what, December, you said, John, right?
Mid to late December. It was a little
Okay.
before the Open Cup stuff. But with this one, they get 35 national TV games on linear TV. There's other national TV games, technically speaking, the first national TV games are going to be this weekend on Golazzo, the Golazzo network, which is a free on a lot of stuff streaming network. You can get on the CBS Sports app, Pluto TV. I get it on my Roku for free.
Wonder if I can get it on my Apple TV for free. I'll have to check that out.
If you can get the CBS Sports app on your Apple TV, then you can you can access it through that. If you get Pluto, you can access it. But two USLC games will be up there. I believe it's North Carolina FC versus Charleston, and then Sacramento versus Orange County will be on there. And that's another thing. Roughly 75 games are going to be on that platform this season.
On the Golazzo network, right?
Yes, which is streaming.
Yes.
Not
Just
linear
streaming.
TV.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things from the article that I was still left questioning was what specifically, if at all, is Lexington going to get from this deal? Do we know of any national broadcast games for Lexington?
So, as of right now, the only broadcast game Lexington can get on linear TV is the final, the USL 1 final, which will be on CBS Sports Network. USL 1 kind of got the short end of the stick, and what I say, rightfully so. That's another point where, yes, Lou City benefited from the linear national TV deal, getting 5 games on linear national TV. But that's because Lou City draws the most fans, and they get from. We don't know these exact numbers. It's very much like the MLS deal, but the USL knows what teams draw eyeballs, and those are the teams that got the most games. I would have liked to see a better balance of teams in at least with the championship, but no, they know what draws most eyeballs. That's why Detroit, Sacramento, and Lou City have the most.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, those are some of the biggest markets in the USL, right?
It's the biggest markets and the biggest name. Detroit, they have the best fan culture across the USL. Lou City has the nicest stadium in the USL and draws fans. Sacramento had that run in the Open Cup, so that's a name people will draw to. They also avoided any games in a team that plays in a baseball stadium.
Yeah, I
Can't
did notice.
They chose teams that have good camera angles, good fans, and draw eyeballs is who they chose. Um, it sucks to suck that if you didn't get a single one, you might get on Golazzo. USL 1 got the short end of the stick, though. Only 3 games are on total. The Henny Derby, which is a
That's
great
a good
game on
one.
July 3rd. Spokane versus Omaha in September for a Wednesday game. That's because Spokane has apparently set the record for season ticket sales for a USL 1 team.
Wow.
But you gotta think about it, there's nothing in Spokane. Like they don't have any. They're not think about if you took the like Lexington and Cincinnati didn't exist, Lou City didn't
Right.
exist, maybe even Indy and Columbus. That's all those fans in the like Boise, Eastern Washington area have, because Seattle's like 4 hours from Spokane. So it's not like it's a drive. It's a doable drive, but it's not a bad drive. Or it's not like an easy drive to do. So Spokane has like no one to compete with, and I expect we might see similar numbers with Portland, Maine, when they get
Yeah,
eventually
because there's
launched.
nothing else up there.
It's isolation. If you're
Yeah.
the only team, and that's why like Vermont Green, like they sold out their season tickets today. Granted, that's only like 1,300 people, but because of how small their stadium is, but they sold out of season tickets because there's nothing out there, and they put out a good quality product. So they'll play Omaha on Wednesday. Both USL 1 picked games are on Wednesdays, and then the
Which
final.
I think that can be a good opportunity to get some more viewership.
Some people are complaining about game times with the national TV games, because like the final, the USL Championship final, now will be played at like noon on a Saturday, like the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And this is why I say it. They're still in a prove it.
Right.
So they have the numbers where ESPN's like, okay, because USL games have been on ESPN2 before. So
Right.
USL and ESPN can go and be like, okay, you have enough numbers to warrant a slot. Now we're giving you, instead of like 3 games, I think the previous total was like 7 a year. We're going to give you
That seems
35.
about right.
Prove it to us. That's why the big 3 teams got those 5 games. That's why all these other teams got these things. It's prove it to us. Part of the reason the first national televised game, the Lou City versus Indy game, is at 4 is because that leads them into the Final Four.
Yep.
Which, like, yeah, I would rather be during marquee time, but you're not getting the stray eyeball during that weekend.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
you're not.
I think that will really boost the last 20 minutes of that game for that exact reason. And I forgot to put that in the article, but you're exactly right. Like it leads directly into a Final Four game. So, if you're tuning in early for that, you're going to catch the tail end of Lou City and Indy 11. Like, I think it's going to be a really good opportunity for those two teams to put on a show. Two teams that don't really like each other. They compete for that god awful ugly trophy. I can't remember what it's called. Make sure you put
Are
it
you
down in the
making
chat.
fun of the oldest trophy in soccer?
Yes, I'm making
Of the
fun of
oldest rivalry in soccer that's
the
older than mankind?
what is it? Older than
It's the
mankind, like the wrestler?
LIPAC. It's like LIPAC.
Yeah, sure. The traffic cone of doom. I will start referring to it as that from now on. But, I really think that. And Justin Blair chimed in a few minutes ago. Don't forget about the New Mexico Stadium. I forgot to mention that. But I think this is a great opportunity for Louisville to showcase what they can do. And not that I think, Lou City is in any spot in the next, half century to move up to the MLS and anything like that. But I think this is a great opportunity to showcase what USL can do. So my challenge for all Lou City fans is to get out to that game. Please pack the stadium. Make sure that you are showing your team, your city, our state that we are capable of hosting professional sports in this town and supporting them all the way on the big screen and in the stadium. So if you can't make it, if you're in Pikeville or Paducah, I understand it's a heck of a journey up to Louisville, but make sure that you are watching that game on big CBS right before college basketball. Some other things to kind of note from the article John mentioned, it definitely heavily favors Lou City, um, especially with them leading the national broadcast. But one part that I thought is kind of missing, and maybe that Galazzo part will kind of take a little bit of this, was I was really hoping to see more streaming offerings. I would have really liked to have seen if they could have worked out a deal with someone like a Netflix, like an Amazon, very similar to what Apple did, to put all of their games on one platform in one easy, digestible location. Put all the not all the money, but put similar money into what Apple did with the MLS to put on TV shows, to put on documentaries, and to really dive into what the USL could be.
Okay, they're doing that. They just released a media deal with a company that's going to be doing more of that documentary stuff. However, with this combined deal, their previous TV deal with ESPN was in the low seven figures. We don't have an exact number, but it was in the low seven figures. This one's now in the high sevens.
Right. And
combined.
Hey, money talks.
So that's the thing. And that's what I tell people. Everyone's mad that it's on like different platforms. I'm like, it's either that or they make less money.
Right. And even as like an NFL fan, you're used to that. You're used to watching games
The
on Fox
MLS
and
had
game
to do
on
that
CBS.
For years. The NWSL is having to do that. They have to prove that there are fans that will follow you to these channels to watch. It's not just a matter of convenience. It's a matter of dedication. Apple went to MLS because MLS could show we have enough numbers to warrant this, to warrant giving us $250 million a year, $2.5 billion over 10 years. That's the thing. The NFL is the single highest revenue league in the world, to where that is so valuable that NBC just goes at them and is like, well, we really only want one game a week. I think NBC gets 18 total games because they get like the Thursday night football game to kick off the year. And then they get they get 18 total games. And they're probably paying the NFL $1 billion a year for 18 games. The NFL brings in that money. Right. Because those are always the marquee games of the week that are fall on a Sunday. The USL needs to show that. They need to show if it's Apple, if it's Netflix, who hasn't really has tried to get into the live sports realm, but I think there's a reason they haven't gone. If it's ESPN, to show them more consistently on linear TV. If it's Amazon, they need to show these companies that the value of getting all of USL on one platform is there.
Yeah, and so I think that's a really good point, John. And maybe it is the next contract, in a couple of years when this one is done, we can look back and we can say like, hey, this is where it starts.
They got
I think
5 years to prove it. We're in this 5-year realm where we have basically a major soccer tournament all these next 5 years. We have the Copa, we have the Club World Cup, we have the Men's World Cup, we are probably get the Women's World Cup, so that's not set in stone. And then we have the 28 Olympics.
Right.
So it's prove it.
Yeah, and I think this deal kind of puts us in a spot where we can prove that, if we can show as a league and as a fan base for Louisville and for Lexington and for if anybody else joins in League One or whatever, that we do support it here in the Commonwealth. We want to see the game grow, but we got to get into the stadium and we got to watch it on TV when it's road games for Lou City or Lexington. Um, John, I'll give you the final word on the national TV broadcast deal.
It's good. It's gonna be good for the league. I wish there would have been more balance and that sort of thing, but it's like I said, it's an prove it era. The USL has to prove to these companies that putting them on these channels are what it is, and the fans, you got to do the same. You want more convenience? Show up,
Yep.
watch games, that type of deal. Don't pirate as much as that. I know people don't want to spend money, but don't pirate if you want these leagues to truly show their numbers and show their dedication.
Yeah, don't do that. I know that's the easiest thing to do, to watch it on Twitch or watch it on YouTube as an additional channel, or something like that. But don't do that. Just
Here's my thing. I'll say this: unlike MLS's season pass, which still is the best out of the major sports, all-in-one feeds, the USL's ones, you can wrap ESPN Plus in a Hulu Disney Plus bundle. Paramount Plus comes with a lot. You can watch, if you have Paramount Plus, you can watch any CBS affiliated channel live. On streaming, you can watch the news, that type of deal. You can watch big CBS on Paramount Plus. Plus, it's got all this free stuff they have. Has all of its TV shows. It's got all this stuff. It's not this is my biggest thing. It's oh, I'm paying so much. And I was no one uses any of these platforms in a vacuum. And if you are, I'm sorry, you're stupid. If you are solely paying for Paramount Plus, solely to watch the USL, and you're going to be I dropped it, you're either not a soccer fan, because there's Champions League on there, all three UEFA competitions are on there, Serie A is on there, the Argentinian League, NWSL is also going to still be on Paramount Plus in bits. But there's so much other stuff on there. There's a lot of TV shows and all this type of stuff. If you get ESPN Plus without doing the Disney Plus Hulu bundle, you're stupid. And I doubt you don't like the Bundesliga or La Liga or the Championship in England or the FA Cup or literally any other sport in America, because it gets shown on ESPN Plus outside the NFL. College basketball, college football, college hockey, normal hockey, baseball. It's all on there. You're not paying, for Apple, solely for one product. You're paying for all these products in one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good take to close it out there, John. But with that, we'll now transition over to our next topic. So now I want to talk a little bit about Lexington Sporting Club. And John, you released your article today talking about a preseason, or all of the preseason action, plus previewing the upcoming season. So John, why don't you kind of talk us through what happened so far this preseason for Lexington? Because I know they haven't been as much posting as other teams have, but as well as kind of talk us through your article.
Well, my article is about the upcoming season. I don't really talk about the preseason and that. But Lex had a good preseason. They went 3-1-2. Their two losses came to Indian 11 and the University of Cumberland's. But those two games were played both on February 24th, back to back. So the Cumberland's game was largely academy kids, some trialists, and youth players. Isaac Kano scored both goals in that game, but it wasn't Duke wasn't out there, Knight wasn't in goal. It wasn't what you would say the A team out there. And also, for one, this is a part of the thing. People need to start going to or trying to catch a preseason game if they can, which personally I believe more teams should make that accessible. But that's a question. That's a topic for another day. Because you'll see just how much watching preseason games means nothing and tells you nothing about
Yep.
what's going on. Like when we went to the Lou City Lex game, they changed like both teams changed formation like 4 times.
Yep.
They like did there was full times where they just did like timeout football huddle style and they did like 9-man substitutions. Like
Oh
y'all
yeah.
aren't getting like unless you're like with the coach and have this full game plan and know exactly like what they're looking for. You're not
Uh,
getting nothing besides maybe seeing some guys and seeing how they look and that type of thing. But you're not getting any reading on how good the team can be or not.
and to Michael's point here, some of them are open to the public. I know Lou City, they didn't really publicize it, but they also didn't really stop people.
Near the
I would,
Lex this past weekend, apparently people just showed up because they
yeah, I
figured
wouldn't encourage like bombarding a small pitch for something like that. But
but I don't. I think there's a part of me that uh, they both need to. I say season ticket holders or just open it to the public. Don't advertise necessarily where it's being played. Be like
right,
if you can figure it out. Like I know some Lou City fans figured out where Lou does it. Lex really only has 2 options. You're going to be playing at Georgetown or they're playing at the training facility.
yeah, and I
Figure it
think
out. If they
the
show
short
up, they
side too
show
does it.
up. Game starts in. We're not doing anything like there's no player signings, nothing like that type of deal. Like show up, sit on the bench. When the game ends, you leave. There's none of that like fan interaction type deal.
Right.
I do agree they shouldn't be streamed. That's a thing of like something that an opponent can find type deal. Like coming to keeping games open to the public makes it so that if a team wants to spy on a team, they physically have to send someone to that city to
Yeah,
spy
which would
on
be
that team.
expensive.
Yeah, versus just hopping on a cheap stream or a free stream. So I'm fine with not streaming it, but like don't take anything you see from preseason into account. Most teams they're just getting their legs under them. They're experimenting. They're trying new things, and don't take into account like information not coming out, especially new coaches, that sort of thing. Like Cruz has been at Louisville for 4 seasons. There's
Yeah, you're not going to
not
notice much.
much. There's not really much he's gonna like flip on its head. So he's maybe more comfortable releasing formations or lineup for a reason. Powell has yet to play a competitive game as Lexington's coach. So why should he give any of his
Yeah,
opponents
don't
any
give that
credit?
away for free.
Like I understand how frustrating it is as a fan, but like it's preseason. It literally means nothing. I get that itch, I get that desire, but it means nothing and it's solely for the players to get ready for the actual season.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I didn't notice much from the Lexington and Louisville game that we were there, except that they were just continuing to try different people and continuing to try out different lineups and stuff like that. Got a comment here from Timothy. I noticed a lot of other clubs where they announce lineups, etc. Why do you think Lexington doesn't? And I think it's exactly going back to your point there, John. I think that Powell doesn't want that information out there just yet.
Yeah. Like on paper, unless you really, really know Lexington right now, like someone that really knows the fit and the form and how guys are syncing up, which probably only the Lexington coaching staff. I don't know how you form a starting 11
Yeah.
out of Lexington's squad. I genuinely don't. I can see something where we have like 4 attackers, like 4 straight up guys are going to be attacking with Liotti, Lancaster, Youth, Brown, throwing Balogun there. Kano,
Cano on
like
occasion.
we got six. We have a 5-6 person problem of who's going to be the possibly two strikers.
Yeah.
Throw
Well,
in Onin and Yannick, who can both play attacking mid. Throw in Tate, who's probably going to play more up in the midfield, given how much we've beefed up the back line. Throw in Mane, Caputo, David. Like, it's all over the place. We have 4 center backs that I would all be okay with starting. So,
Timothy, getting back in here, I would be surprised to Jesus, I can't read. I would be surprised to see the lineup. Haha, now I see because you made a little adjustment. To see a lineup a handful of times that are the same this season, and I agree with you, John. I think there's so
yes,
much
no.
improvement on this roster in Lexington this year that I think that's one of their strengths, that they can mix it up. And as you pointed out in the article, because they have so many goals for this year, they're going to
We
have
have
to mix it up.
3 guys. We have 3 guys that have scored 10 plus goals professionally. One guy that's done 20 plus goal season twice. And we're young. Like, Lancaster's the oldest guy on this roster, and he's
Yeah.
31.
That's insane.
Him and Knight are the only. No. They're not. No, I think it's Corrales.
I mean, hey, you would know their age way better than I would, man.
Let me double check this.
While
No, it's
John is
Jorge Corrales. So we have 3 guys over the age of 30. Jorge Corrales, who I think is going to get the armband personally.
Wow.
Cameron Lancaster and Amal Knight. Everyone else is like 27 or below. Our midfield doesn't have the oldest midfielder we have is Yannick Yakim and Pierre Mane, who are 26.
Jeez. But with a young squad, Powell has to be careful and to make sure that they are staying together, keeping them all working towards the same goals, making sure that they're pushing each other in a way that is healthy and that is competitive on the field and not something that's going to create a potentially toxic environment. Got another question here, John, from Michael. I wonder who will be the penalty taker for Lexington this year.
I
And
think
him
they'll mix it up. Like, Brown took a penalty last year. Diouf took a few. Even when Smart was on the field, like, Smart only took 6. Diouf took some. Brown took some. I believe Khalid took one even. So it'll be mix it up. I think it's hard for me to tell where Lancaster is on this squad because I don't know if we're just seeing a lot of him because he is playing a lot or he's going to be featured, or it's just the marketing team being smart.
Hey, I think it could be a little bit of both. I think he'll play a role,
Like
but I don't know how big.
the signing Instagram post was like the first post I got over 1,000 likes in like 6 months. So like that kind of says like
It's a big deal.
Just make sure Lancaster's in a picture. I'm not saying
Speaking
it's
of
bad.
which,
He is arguably the best professional soccer player in Kentucky history, but
keep that in
hard
mind
to
here in a
judge.
moment when we switch topics and start talking about the kit reveal. But before we get there, John, one of the things that you really emphasized in the article was the big 4 goals that the team has of going for the Player Shield, the in-season cup, the USL One Cup, and the U.S. Open Cup. Of those, which do you think Lexington has the best chance at getting?
The Shield, and as I described in it, it's the only one that's not like a knockout style to win.
Right.
So I list you win in order of how I list them, which is the easiest to hardest. The Shield is, in my opinion, going to be the easiest
Why
because
do you say that?
it's not knockout style. It's based on points. We have tough stretches. We have easy stretches this season. So it's something where you can stumble and kind of hop back up. Though they don't have as much wiggle room this year because they only got 22 games instead of 32 league games. but it's the Shield at the end. Whereas the in-season cup becomes the next easiest because you get 8 guaranteed games, but then you have to win 2 to win the cup.
Right.
USL One Cup. This is going to be the first. I believe this will be the first one in since 2019, first playoffs in USL One history that the first round, the best team doesn't get a bye. You can. I don't count COVID, in which
No.
um, Omaha fans will like this because Greenville is technically 2020 champions, but they never played the 2020 championship game. So a lot of people asterisk Greenville's star. Um, I, so, and this will be the first one where the league champ has to win 3 playoff games, and because of an 8-team playoff. So it's going to be the more knockout games you have in soccer, the harder it is to win. And that's why the Open Cup is on there, because it is a trophy that we can win, though it would be next to impossible. It not maybe not next to impossible. It'd be really hard because we have to win 8 games. Facing now, it's going to be in stages. I think we can make it. I personally think Lexington's ceiling of expectations, like this is where we floor should be the 3rd or 4th round, depending on what championship team we draw, because the championship doesn't come in until the 3rd round.
Right.
So I think we should get over Vermont.
Agreed. That should be a victory.
It's going to be interesting to see Vermont because we're going to be like their first game of the season. And they're not going to play again until like May. So it's very interesting. And this is why USL 2 teams kind of decline. I think we should get through Vermont. Obviously, games have to be played. And it'll depend on the draw of our next game, which it will probably be another D3 opponent, and then it will be what championship team we get. Because there are championship teams I think we can beat. I think we could beat possibly a Loudon. Loudon is in the air right now. Loudon's up in the air right now in terms of their total skill, but we could definitely beat the real Miami team.
F out of here. I almost cussed so hard right there. No.
We can definitely beat the Miami FC. We can
You mean
beat
the Dade County boys or whatever?
And Inter plays in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, we do. For now, we are building the the Freedom Park, and it is going to be the most glorious, greatest stadium of all MLS stadiums in this country. I cannot wait.
Anyways,
still waiting on my invite. Inter Miami, please.
Though, if we make it to the 3rd round, I'm pretty sure we'll get Lou City, so it'll be very interesting to see if we get out of that. Then we would get another group. We could, but we'll see. Then there's the 4th round, and then we get into like where or the round of 32, and then we get into where like the MLS teams start getting in. And that's the thing, there's still 8 MLS teams in here, one of which is LAFC.
Oh yeah,
who is good.
Even their academy is good.
Like, if you're looking at this, you're taking MLS or we could get Houston. Houston's the defending champ. Then they took their next 7
beat Inter Miami.
Teams. Their next 7 best teams that aren't in the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yep.
So we're not getting DC United. We're like the lower end teams all sent their MLS Next Pro teams. We're not getting the lower end of MLS. We're getting like the mid of MLS. Yep. So would I love to beat them? Yes, but that's gonna be hard. That's not gonna be easy. That's not something where I can kind of like pencil us down for doing so.
Yeah, and to Tim's point here, predicting the Open Cup, the Battle of the Greens, the Green Dream, whatever you want to call that game. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Lexington wins it 3-0. I think it's not going to be close. I think Lexington has a better roster. I think they have better coaching. And that's no disrespect to the Vermont folks. I kept Vermontians.
Vermontians.
Oh, thank you. No disrespect meant, but just think Lexington is a better team. Then I agree with you, John. It depends on the continuing on who they draw. Yeah, if it's Loudon, win. If it's Miami FC, win. If it's Charlotte, win. Um, Charleston, win. But if it's a
Charleston.
Pitts, yes, put it down.
Char-
But if it's a Lou City or a Pittsburgh, Tampa, I'm just trying to keep them on this side
I
of the
would
continent.
say we could beat Pittsburgh more right now than Charleston.
I don't know, man. I
Pittsburgh
just
got
still think
depleted.
they
Pittsburgh got cut Keziah Sterling from Tormenta. They just finally signed him, but Pittsburgh got depleted.
they did, but I still think that they're going to be a very competitive team, and that's a
Yeah,
tough place to go
Charleston's
into.
gonna be more competitive. Charleston is like the favorite right now by most accounts. Fans are picking Lou City as the favorite in the East, but like Charleston's like the top dog right now by most people's accounts.
I also may or may not be having a moment where I confuse Charleston and Charlotte for a second. Maybe that may be happening right now.
Charlotte
But
is
anyways,
playing a team in the Philadelphia area.
hmm, hmm.
Omaha's going to Boston.
All of them are going to like far places. Like it
So
was crazy.
from what I understand from my buddy at the Cup.us told me it's that with the 32 in, there's the 32 open division teams are more heavily coastal. There's like
Roger.
10 from California or something like that.
Yeah.
Very few from very few from the Midwest. Like there's like two in Chicago, two in Texas, one in Tulsa, and then one in like Minnesota and then Des Moines. Versus like you had Chicago to Minnesota to Madison, Omaha, Lexington. You have a bunch of teams, Northern Colorado, you could even throw in there. It just wasn't balanced well. Where especially East Coast, there's not a lot of D3 teams out there. So it was just kind of drew up that way. That like that was gonna happen. And it seems they did the teams with the more money, which is USL over NISA. They're the ones that are like, okay, you got to travel, which is fine. Lexington apparently
Madison.
can't host because of our gridiron lines. So
Ooh, that sucks.
it's we can probably host, but it's like they try to not to do that. It's a
Hmm.
looks thing.
What was I gonna say here, John? Oh, Forward Madison hosting Duluth. That's not
That's
too
not
far
that
of a run.
far. And Minnesota United's going to Chicago.
Yeah,
There's three teams in Chicago. Two of them are playing each other. But then like the Des Moines Menace are going all the way out to California.
I
Omaha's
see
going
that.
to. Uh, they kind of favored the MLS next teams. Those teams more got the geographical ones, which I don't know if that's because of costs from the MLS side of because we don't know the budgets of these teams and some of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Chattanooga FC is hosting a team from Florida. I want to say it's kind of all over the
Red
place, but
Wolves.
no FC.
Oh no,
Uh,
what? Sorry, I was reading Red Wolves. They're hosting Broxton.
yeah, I think they're another
Brockton.
Pennsylvania team. Um, but if both Chattanooga teams went, we could have possibly a Chattanooga Derby in the second round.
Heck yeah, man. That would be amazing.
And Lex would probably get if all D3 teams win, which I don't think all of them will, because I just know the spirit of these type of competitions. That's not going to happen across 16 matches, but no, 32 matches. But if they all do win, we're probably getting either one of the Michigan teams in Nisa or Knoxville for the Open Cup for the second round. And then we would have to see about third round when the championship comes in.
Shout out to South Carolina United playing Greenville. I think that'll be a really good matchup. I'll go on and I will take South Carolina United to win that one. Eat it, Greenville. I actually agree here with Michael. I would rather see a game with gridiron lines than baseball lines. John, what say you?
Well, I it depends on the field and how they do it, but um, Vermont does not play on a baseball field. They play on like a proper soccer pitch. So it has some other weird lines on it. Like I think they also play lacrosse there, but there's no like football lines on there.
Question here from Smith Video Productions: Is Lexington going to when is Lexington going to play in their new stadium this year?
It is. Lexington is planning to play in their new stadium. By all accounts, it's supposed to open in August. So I believe the first game there will probably be a Super League game. Super League game. And then the first men's game that will possibly be there is the August 10th matchup against Knoxville. And to Tim, there's no bracket. They play the rounds and then they redraw. They play rounds, they redraw. I don't think they bracket it till the quarterfinal, like where it's a true bracket. Maybe the round of 32 is when they start the bracket, but the first 3 rounds, it's like winner, win, draw, win, draw, win type deal. It's not like straightforward like bracketing it. So for us to face Lou City, we have to make it at least the third round.
Indeed. But with that out of the way, John, there was more announcements from Lexington this past season or this past week, or even today. It was today with the kit announcements. So, John, I want to get your thoughts here on these kits from Lexington Sporting Club, rocking the all black. I personally am a huge fan of this. I really think it makes the green pop. It's a very similar jersey to what they had last year for their home kits. And back to our point from earlier, of course, the marketing team putting Cameron Lancaster front and center.
The kits are really a mashup of last year's home green and the black kit. Because it really is the black kit with a middle styling. For those that don't know, that green they're using in those kits, that is like Lex's true green, like the green that we see in that dots the horse and the crest. That is like what the ownership wants to be as our main color. Nike does not make that though as a base kit color, so that's why it's more this accented thing. And Nike also kind of, you don't have as much free range as like Hummel or Charlie, so that's kind of why it's like this. It's not like all over the place type style, but I like the kit. I already bought it. It's on its way to my house. It's a great kit in my eyes. It's perfect. I personally like the black. We played better in the black last year in black kits. If I pull up my little cheat sheet of Lexington stats, I believe it's here. Nope.
While he's doing that, yeah, I think this is great. I really hope that. Do you know what the away kit color will be? Green, I assume, or will it be white?
I think it's still white. I think they're keeping the whites
with the same black pattern down the center.
Yeah,
the diamonds.
I don't know about that, but they won 58% of their games in the black kit last year.
Wow!
So
love to see it. But John, they were not the only ones to reveal a new kit. Um, Racing Louisville also
Well,
unveiled their
the
new kit.
entire NWSL revealed some good kits. There were definitely some good kits in there. Racing is one of the few teams that has a really good kit, but there was also a lot of bland kits in there. Racing being one of them.
Yes, the purple is a
The
little
the
bland.
the jockey kit, perfect.
The lavender, like the white
Yeah,
and lavender one,
I
yeah,
don't know what it's
that is
called.
amazing.
Perfect kit. They
Yeah,
kind of teased us a
that
bit
one.
when they first released it because the person they had modeling it, this not what you're showing, but like what NWSL released had like a green collar to it,
Ooh,
like a uh like a green polo collar that she had like popped over the kit. You won't see that in any of these pictures. This is by the NWSL directly.
I'm just
And
scrolling through the pictures.
there's little green accents in the racing kit, so I thought like, oh, they're doing a collar kit. But then it didn't really match. But the purple kit, which I think is the away kit,
Uh huh.
right?
From my understanding, yes.
Um, it's just like a very subtle gradient from like a lighter purple to a darker purple at the base. And it's just bland. It's the issue I have with Nike.
You can see kind of the ribs in it, but that's
That's
about it.
that's 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 the vapor kit.
Yeah.
That's the base kit. That's not something they specifically put on Lu Racing's kit. Um,
Hmm.
that's just the base. Like if you were to buy the kit from Nike, that's would be on there. Um,
Yes,
there
Justin, I
is
agree. The those kits are amazing.
there is something that could be said about bland kits. I'm not against them. They just don't rock the boat for me. Uh, but the jockey, well, I'm calling the jockey kit, which is the one with the diamonds and all that type of stuff. Um,
Not sure
is
about that one there.
one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yes.
Send me a link of that because I have no idea what those kits look like. But
The
thank you,
jockey
Jesus.
kit.
No. What Tim was talking
Oh,
about here.
Greenville did their for their warm up top. They did a kit that's like reminiscent of their SG's type style with like a lightning bolt on it. It has their SG logo on it.
Hmm.
But it's a warm up top. They're never gonna be like playing a game in them. No, Greenville has a nice little kit they released. Their other kit's gonna be really nice. I gotta see it. It's gonna be real nice. I think it's better than the green one they've released. There's a lot of nice kits being dropped around the league, and Lex is not the last one. Chattanooga still has to drop their kits. They're gonna be dropping them on Saturday because they're not playing. There's a bunch of teams that have to do it. I do think we're keeping the white aways for this season, though. I don't think the USL allows you to do a full switch every year.
And I think that's going to be for the better. Like I said, I really like the white kit. I think it'll look nice, especially in contrast to the black. Um, and I just really like those kits. But more so, I think that the jockey kit from um, racing, I think that is top tier kits. I wish they had kept the purple kit from last year with the what is the houndstooth pattern because I think that as a 1-2 combo might be the best in any kit combination out there. But with that out of the way, John, let's continue talking about Racing Louisville, where they had quite a good run down in Columbia last week for the Women's Cup. They beat a Colombian side to advance to the Women's Cup final, where they played New Jersey, New York, Gotham. They were able to actually score the opening goal in that match. Turner got her first goal with Racing Louisville. I mean, it's a preseason goal, so I'm not, it doesn't count, does it not? Nah, but I really think Racing Louisville was going for it. So to me, that
Preseason
counts.
goal doesn't officially account
To
for it.
me, it counts.
It was good to see. It's good. The tournament was good for about a game and a quarter, game and a half.
Yeah.
Um, because Racing did obviously won. Both Gotham and Racing won as expected. Racing did score the opening goal in the final,
Yep.
and then Gotham, who are the reigning champs, who had literally
Just took them out.
beefed up their entire roster, I think came out in the second half and put a three-piece up on them.
Yep. Final score was 3-1 in that one. But it was great to see Coach Bev's squad come out firing. Again, it was great to
Did
see
anyone?
Turner
I
to
want
get
to
that
know
goal.
personally because they put this on BN, which I don't know anyone who actually has BN. Did anyone actually
Nope.
fully watch these games? Please tell me if you did. I've seen some highlights. This is my one
But I
issue
watched.
with this tournament is it's like kind of marketed as this big thing, but then it gets thrown on like BN Sports, and there's like barely anything that comes out of it. Like we barely see anything out of it. I get it's a preseason tournament, but like don't market it like a big thing to just like barely put anything out about it, like from the actual turn play.
And to the conversation earlier with TV deals, NWSL, can you get a deal with somebody else to get some better highlights on, or excuse me, better exposure out there? That would be another league that could really use.
They just got one. They just got a TV deal. Theirs ain't changing.
Well, eventually,
And
maybe.
NWSL doesn't run that tournament. That's like its own thing that they go around. I'm pretty sure when I originally saw this, racing was not supposed to be in this year's edition.
Oh,
I think another team backed out and they kind of like went down to like they found another team to go.
hmm
So
well. Overall, to me, I think it was a great run for Coach Bev's team. Good to get that extra experience, to get way away from Louisville, continue to practice hard. Looking forward, I really do think that as long as this team stays focused, they're going to make the playoffs this year. They do have one more preseason game against Chicago Red Stars before their home opener against Orlando Pride. And I think they have really put themselves in a position to continue to advance and to keep pushing forward and to crack into that playoff bracket that they've been really pushing for last year and a little even the year before that. So I remain very optimistic on Racing Louisville. John, what say you after the tournament? Any major takeaways?
nothing really major. Like I said, I didn't really get to see a full game play. Um, it's a great experience for the players to go down there and for racing and the NWSL as a whole to expose like kind of the world to the game. But it's not really much takeaways. It's preseason. They're gonna play another preseason game. Like let's see how they're looking come March 16th.
Absolutely. Speaking of teams that had international ish kind of tournament going on, the U.S. women's team. They are playing right now in the Gold Cup, the CONCACAF Gold Cup, but it's not just the standard CONCACAF because Argentina is in it, Brazil is in it, so it's a little bit
And
expanded
you
beyond.
jinx them.
I
This
was I
man's
was
like
not
they're
going to bring
gonna
that up.
dominate the tournament. They're gonna walk into the final. They should win. They get dos a cero by Mexico for our first like loss to
Literally,
Mexico in a competitive game on the female side in like 25 years.
literally, it was the same night. I made that prediction and they lost. Like I remember sitting on the couch and I saw the score come across my phone. And I was like, "Oh no, I
To
did that."
which to which a motivated U.S. side played Colombia last night,
Yep.
and Colombia. So the U.S. is already motivated because they had a loss and they want to prove themselves, and then Colombia pissed them off by playing by arguing a penalty, like the most obvious penalty ever was how this all started. Like this girl literally did the equivalent of a tackle in soccer. She did the proper tackle of a shoulder to shoulder thing, but made no play on the ball.
Nope,
To
none at
stop
all.
Alex Morgan. Not even like a little like flick of her foot to make it look like she was trying. She just full on like shoulder tackled Morgan. And then they argued the penalty for like 5 minutes. Haran scores it. And then it's just like full on from there. The only bad thing was like they got into Trinity Rodman's head, which I was a little worried about because she got a yellow and she was not playing like she had a yellow for most of that game.
No, she's got to be careful of that, picking up another yellow against Canada potentially, where then she would miss the final.
I think they said they cleared after the quarterfinals.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought they cleared after the semis. That's my bad.
I think they cleared now.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, go for it, girl.
Well, even if she got a yellow against Canada, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it was group play plus quarters before they cleared.
Mm-hmm. Other notes from the match: Alyssa Nair got her 100th cap, a significant milestone for the team. She also got her 61st career shutout against Colombia. Jenna, Nicewonger got one of the goals along with Lindsey Horan and Jaden Shaw. And they really just took it to Colombia in the first half. Didn't do anything in the second half, but didn't have to. Colombia was not able to fight back. And the USA just sailed on into this pivotal matchup with our rivals to the north in Canada. And I think this is really going to be a measuring stick kind of match for this team. They're missing some of the players from the World Cup, Savannah DeMillo, just to name, one specific person. But they're playing pretty good. I still stand by that they're going to win this tournament. I think they're going to knock out Canada. Here's to coming on next week because I think the game's on Wednesday and having even more egg on my face. But I think they will. I think they're going to knock out Canada, and then we'll see what happens this coming weekend from that match. John, what do you think about the matchup with Canada? Any thoughts?
It's going to be interesting. Canada is kind of a team I can't really judge right now because they are competitive, they are good, but it's weird. The U.S. is in a weird state where I can't guarantee everything, but I think they will beat Canada, but I don't know right now.
Come on, be bold with me. Yes, they're going to smash them 3-0.
I'm not going to be bold with you because last time you were bold, we got shut out by a team we had not lost to in 20 years.
Well, and the first loss at home since 2000 or something like that, right?
That might have been what it was. Like, it was the first loss at home to Mexico since 2000.
I think it was any CONCACAF team since 2000. Not even just Mexico. Like, they didn't even slip up against, I don't know, Trinidad and Tobago at some point. No. But, John, any kind of last thoughts tonight before we start wrapping things up?
No, I'm all good.
All right. Everyone, we really appreciate the watches and the likes and all of that. As always, if you want to support the show, right over my shoulder is a QR code for a Bias Coffee account. All proceeds go to continuing to raise money for the show and continuing to do better. We do have a small goal that we're trying to work on. That's getting John to potentially to Vermont. So if you want to donate, now is the time. I'll leave the QR
we need
code
like $600 to fly me out there and
so
rent a car.
If you're a Lexington fan,
instant ramen.
or if you want to help contribute to John getting to come up, you said to survive on Instagram, and I'm still stuck on that.
I showed y'all
You
the
did.
breakdown. The food was like very low.
It was. I was very impressed because okay, so this is behind the scenes completely. I did the math myself, and I literally came up like maybe $15-$20 cheaper, and I was like, dang,
Well, that's
it
because I
is tight.
high end the food. I high
Yeah.
end the food and that type of thing. But I'm literally like, if this happens, I'd be like arriving in Vermont. I'd be in Vermont for like a total of
12 hours.
just I think it's like 18 hours because I think I
Yeah,
arrive at like noon, but I'm leaving at like 5 a.m. the next day.
absolutely. That's just insane. So, help send John to Vermont. Donate on the QR code here or the one that always sits over my shoulder. As always, make sure to give us a listen on all of our podcasting platforms: iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, Apple. As well as make sure that you're following us on all of our social media channels. We have recently just added a Facebook page. So make sure that if you're on Facebook, you follow us on there at BG Soccercast, but as well as our Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and YouTube. If you're into the video format of the show, and of course, our X, where most of you all have been watching the show today. We appreciate all the support. If you are watching on YouTube, and I know several of you are, make sure that you hit subscribe and that you click the bell on the YouTube video. I think it's like 80% of our viewers on YouTube do not actually follow us. So please help us to continue to grow the platform by just hitting that subscribe button and hitting the notification bell to continue to know when we go live. But John, with all of that, sir, it's been another pleasure. We will be back on Wednesday for another great episode of the Bluegrass Soccer Cast. But I'm Jimmy, that's John, and we will see you on the next one.